The rain hammered against the windows of my small apartment in Seattle, each drop a painful echo of the storm raging inside me. Bertram, a 44-year-old software engineer, stared blankly at the code on my screen, lines blurring into meaningless symbols. My life, once a carefully constructed edifice of love and trust, had crumbled into dust. It had all started so innocently: a misplaced phone, a hurried email, a lie that unraveled a world I thought I knew. My wife, Clementine, and I had been together for 15 years. We met at a coffee shop near the University of Washington, her laughter as bright and warm as the Seattle sun, a rare and cherished commodity. I was instantly smitten. She was an artist, her hands capable of conjuring beauty from the mundane, her spirit as vibrant as the colors she splashed across her canvases. We built a life together, a quiet, comfortable existence filled with love, shared dreams, and the comforting rhythm of daily routines. Or so I thought. The first crack appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly. Clementine started working later, attending more art events and gallery openings. She had always been passionate about her work, but this felt different. There was a guardedness in her eyes, a hesitation in her voice that I couldn't quite place. I chalked it up to stress, the pressures of the art world, anything but the gnawing suspicion that began to take root in my mind. One Tuesday, Clementine left her phone at home. I rarely looked at her phone, respecting her privacy. But when it buzzed incessantly with notifications, my curiosity got the better of me. It was a series of messages from a number I didn't recognize. "Can't wait to see you tonight," one read. "Thinking about your touch," another said. A cold dread washed over me, a sickening wave of nausea that threatened to overwhelm me. I scrolled through the messages, each one a knife twisting in my gut. The messages were explicit, intimate, filled with a longing that should have been reserved for me. The sender was listed as Jasper. My hands trembled as I pieced together the puzzle. Jasper was a local sculptor, a charismatic and celebrated artist whose work Clementine admired. They had met at a gallery opening a few months prior, and Clementine had spoken of him with a reverence that now seemed laced with something more. I felt like I'd been sucker punched, the air knocked out of my lungs. Betrayal, raw and agonizing, consumed me. When Clementine came home that evening, I confronted her. I tried to remain calm, my voice shaking as I asked about Jasper. She paled, her eyes widening in a mixture of shock and fear. She stammered, denying any wrongdoing, claiming that Jasper was just a friend, a colleague. But the lies were transparent, her voice lacking the conviction I had always known. I showed her the messages. The color drained from her face. "Bertram, I can explain," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Explain what, Clementine? Explain how you've been betraying me. Explain how you've been lying to my face." My voice rose, the anger I had been suppressing finally erupting. She confessed. It had been going on for months, a whirlwind affair fueled by passion and excitement. She claimed she didn't mean to hurt me, that it just happened, that she still loved me. But her words were hollow, empty apologies that did nothing to soothe the gaping wound in my heart. I couldn't bear to look at her. The woman I had loved, the woman I had built my life with, was a stranger. I asked her to leave. I needed space, time to process the devastation she had wrought. She packed a bag, tears streaming down her face, and walked out the door, leaving me alone in the wreckage of our shattered life. I called my best friend, Ignatius, a wise and pragmatic mechanic who had seen his fair share of heartbreak. He listened patiently as I poured out my pain, offering words of comfort and support. "Come over, Bertram," he said. "We'll have a beer, talk it out. You don't have to go through this alone." I spent the next few days in a fog of grief and anger. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. The pain was relentless, a constant ache in my chest. I replayed the past few months in my mind, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. I felt like a fool, a naive idiot who had been blind to the truth. Ignatius was a rock for me. He listened without judgment, offering practical advice and unwavering support. He encouraged me to seek therapy, to find healthy ways to cope with the pain. He also suggested I hire a private investigator. I was hesitant at first, but the idea intrigued me. I needed to know the full extent of Clementine's betrayal. I needed to understand why she had done this to me. I contacted a private investigator named Rufus. He was a no-nonsense professional with a reputation for getting results. I explained my situation, outlining my suspicions and providing him with the information I had gathered. Rufus agreed to take the case, promising to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Days turned into weeks as Rufus conducted his investigation. He tracked Clementine's movements, interviewed her friends and colleagues, and gathered evidence of her affair with Jasper. The information he uncovered was even more devastating than I had imagined. Clementine and Jasper weren't just having an affair, they were planning a future together. They had discussed leaving Seattle, moving to Santa Fe, and opening an art studio. They had even talked about having children, something Clementine had always said she didn't want with me. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. It wasn't just a fleeting moment of weakness. It was a calculated plan to dismantle our life and replace it with something new. I felt like I had been living a lie for years, that the woman I had loved had never truly existed. Rufus also uncovered something else, something that sent a chill down my spine. Jasper had a history of financial instability. He was deeply in debt, owing money to some unsavory characters. He had a reputation for manipulating women, using their money and resources to fund his extravagant lifestyle. It became clear that Clementine wasn't just a lover, she was a mark. Armed with this information, I decided to confront Clementine one last time. I met her at a coffee shop, the same place where we had first met 15 years ago. The irony was not lost on me. "I know about Jasper," I said, my voice cold and steady. "I know about your plans, about Santa Fe, about everything." Clementine's face crumpled. She tried to deny it, to lie her way out of it, but I cut her off. "I also know about Jasper's debts, about his history of manipulating women. You're not in love with him, Clementine. You're being used." She stared at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and realization. The truth finally dawned on her, the ugly reality of her situation. She had been blinded by passion, blinded by the illusion of a new life, and had walked straight into a trap. "What are you going to do?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm going to expose him," I said. "I'm going to tell everyone about his debts, about his manipulations. I'm going to make sure he can never hurt another woman again." I contacted Jasper's creditors, providing them with evidence of his financial situation and his relationship with Clementine. I also contacted the local art galleries, warning them about his fraudulent activities. The response was swift and decisive. Jasper's reputation was ruined, his career in tatters. He was ostracized by the art community, his name synonymous with deceit and manipulation. Clementine, devastated and humiliated, was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She lost her friends, her reputation, and the man she thought she loved. She tried to apologize, to beg for forgiveness, but I couldn't offer it. The trust was broken, the damage irreparable. I filed for divorce. The process was painful and acrimonious, but I was determined to move on with my life. I sold our house, the house we had built together, and moved into a small apartment in downtown Seattle. I threw myself into my work, finding solace and distraction in the intricate world of coding. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call. It was from a woman named Lenore. She introduced herself as Jasper's ex-wife. "I heard what you did," she said. "I wanted to thank you. He ruined my life, but I never had the courage to stand up to him. We talked for hours, sharing our stories of betrayal and abuse. We found comfort in each other's experiences, a shared understanding of the pain and trauma we had endured. Over time, our phone calls turned into meetings, our meetings into dates. We discovered a connection, a shared sense of humor, and a mutual desire for a healthy, loving relationship. Lenore was a kind, intelligent, and compassionate woman. She understood me, supported me, and helped me heal from the wounds of the past. We built a new life together, a life based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. Looking back, I realized that Clementine's betrayal, as painful as it was, ultimately led me to a better place. It forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to learn from my mistakes, and to open my heart to new possibilities. I found love again, a love that was stronger, deeper, and more authentic than anything I had ever known. The rain still falls in Seattle, but now it no longer sounds like a lament. It sounds like a cleansing, a renewal, a promise of a brighter tomorrow.